Hi, it's Miss Ashley, and I'm here today to talk with you about your daily writing assignment, which really is an assignment to get done this week. Last week you met with your teachers, and maybe you met with one teacher to do your Dibbles reading assessment and also check in on some of the things that you've learned this year around math and language. And all the teachers were sharing how proud we are. First, second, and third graders are showing us they have learned a lot this year. So our last part of gathering information and evidence about your learning has to do with writing. And we would be doing this in the class, but since you're at home, we're still going to gather an example of your best writing so that we can see how much you've grown as a writer. Before we get going with the actual assignment, I want to talk with you a little bit about writing in general. So I've been teaching for quite a while, and I will say that sometimes kids have ideas of what it means to be a writer that might be different than how teachers view writing. When you think about writers, there's really no good writers and bad writers. Everyone is a writer. But it is true that some people are more confident and some people really enjoy it more than others. When teachers look at writing, we look at all of the different things that are involved in writing. One of those are ideas. In order to be able to write, we know that writers have to have ideas. But we also look at organization, voice, word choice, conventions, sentence fluency, and presentation. And all together, these are called the 6+1 traits of writing. So I'm going to go over each one with you a little bit, and you might, as you're learning about these or relearning about these, you might be thinking about yourself as a writer and where you have a strength or a challenge in some of these areas. So the first one is ideas. Now it is true, you can't really write anything unless you have an idea. Ideas can come from many places. They can come from your personal experience. They can come from your imagination. They can come from an inspiration, something that you have read or seen or heard. Ideas are really important when you think about writing, because before you can actually sit down to express whatever it is you want to express, you have to know what it is that you want to talk about. That's your idea. So when you are writing, the types of things you want to check in with yourself about with ideas are, one, choosing a strong topic. So the first sentence here says, I choose a strong topic, meaning if I decide I need to write about something and I decide I'm going to write about my pinky finger, well, it might not be a strong topic unless I have a good story to tell you about the time that I had that horrible accident and my pinky finger got slammed in the car door. And then my family had to rush me off to the emergency room to make sure it wasn't broken. So there, even something like a pinky becomes a strong idea because there's a story behind it. The next statement says, I include details to make my writing interesting. And this is something that develops over time. It grows over time as you get older. So if you're in first grade, you're starting to add more details to your writing. By the time you're in third grade, you want to make sure you're adding as many details as possible so that you can convey everything you're trying to convey. The last statement with the ideas is I stick to the topic so my writing is clear and it makes sense. So back to my pinky story. If I were writing and my topic and idea was my pinky, it wouldn't make sense and it wouldn't be very clear if all of a sudden in the middle of the story I say, oh yeah, by the way, did you know I also have other fingers? And one time I jammed my pointer finger when I was playing basketball. No, this isn't a story about all of your finger injuries. If your topic is your pinky, you stick to the pinky. All right, after ideas, we have organization. And you can see here, I put some puzzle pieces together because to me, organization is about making things fit. Part of it has to do with this first statement. My writing has a strong beginning. You really need to tell the audience what your story is going to be about or whatever your topic is. You put things in order so it makes sense. Back to that pinky story, if I said one time I went to the hospital and I was laying there and they were going to take an x-ray. Oh, because, like earlier in the day, I had hurt my pinky and whoa. I need to think about the order of my ideas or my listener might get lost. The last is my writing has a strong ending. This is a way to kind of finish off your story or your writing so people know that you're done sharing. Next is voice. Voice is really interesting because what voice is your own personal style. So it says, my writing has a style. My writing sounds like me. Here's the greatest thing about being a writer. You don't have to be a certain type of writer. All you have to do is be yourself. And the more you use your own voice in your writing, the more people are going to enjoy listening and reading. My personality shines through my writing. We have to be careful not always to write the same way we might speak, because we might not be speaking using complete sentences, but we still want our personality to shine through so that when I read a student's writing or a teacher reads a student's writing, they often already know who wrote it before they see the name on the paper. Next is word choice. Think about a target, like a bullseye. You are trying to choose the just right words to get your idea across. So you choose your words carefully. It says, I use strong words. I want to help paint a picture in the reader's mind. Remember, with your writing, you often aren't reading it aloud to someone. You are giving it to them to read. So you want to make sure you are choosing your words carefully, adding those details so that whatever picture you want painted in their mind can be formed. Last one, I love this statement. I use juicy words to make my writing sparkle. Even the words juicy and sparkle were careful word choice because they really make us feel emotions. This is where a lot of adjectives and adverbs come into play in your writing. Conventions. The picture's a toolbox. Conventions are the tools we use to make sure we are writing in proper grammatical English. So we use capital letters. I use punctuation, periods, question marks, exclamation points. You might be using apostrophes, quotation marks, commas, colons, parentheses. I leave spaces between my words. Now, they don't have to be giant finger spaces anymore, but you want to make sure your words are spaced in a way that we can tell their separation. Last, I use my best spelling when I'm writing. It's totally fine not to spell everything 100% correctly, but when you're getting ready to write and when you go back to read what you've written, think about those OG rules, whether it's the floss rule or when to add ED at the end of a word, or what do you do with a magic E word when you're adding a suffix. Sentence fluency. Think about your writing as being a boat that is sailing smoothly over the waves on the ocean. You want it to be able to be read smoothly and easily. You want to start your sentences differently. I hurt my pinky. I really was sad. I didn't want it to happen. I cried. Okay, that's a lot of I. So when you are reading your writing, you want to make sure to start your sentences a little bit differently to keep it interesting. You also want to use a combination of longer sentences, compound sentences, where you're using a conjunction, maybe and, to connect two sentences together with a combination of short sentences. Presentation. Now, presentation, we often think of standing up in front of someone and speaking. Well, your writing is a presentation in a different way. It is a written and visual presentation. So number one, you use your best handwriting, always. Number two, your illustrations need to be beautiful and detailed. If you're not confident drawing people, draw stick people, or don't even draw people. Include something else about your story that you do feel confident drawing. Lastly, you want to be proud of what you write. You want to feel like you've done your best work when you hand that to someone else to share. So that is a little bit about writing and writers and what we can think about when we're sitting down to do writing. Because often people will find they might have a lot of ideas and then spelling is a real challenge and they might not write a lot because of that. And that's really sad because you know what? We are all writers and we have a lot to share. So the next thing I am going to share with you is the actual writing assignment. Now, the writing assignment today is going to ask you to use an idea that is already being given to you. So we are giving you the idea of homeschooling. Okay. So you won't have to think of your idea, but you are going to want to think about the organization, the voice, the word choice, the conventions, the sentence fluency, your presentation, and here are the directions. Number one, you're already doing, you're watching this video lesson so that you can think about how to use the 6+1 traits to actually guide your writing and make it the best it can be. Number two, you're going to plan out your ideas in the planning boxes. If you scroll to the second page, you're going to see planning boxes. This is really helpful for writing before you sit down and start writing your sentences. Number three, you are going to write about the topic we've given you using your own paper, or we've provided paper for you, and you're going to use your best spelling as you write. Make sure to use complete sentences, make sure to do capitals, punctuation. When you are all done, number four says read through what you wrote. You can use cops to self-edit. So if you are going back and, oopsie, I forgot those capital letters, go ahead and add them. Oopsie, I forgot those periods, go ahead and add them. You're going to include a detailed illustration to go with your writing, and then you're going to have someone help you take a photo and email this to your teachers. So our topic is homeschooling, and there are 4 parts for all first and second graders to write about. The first is you're going to think about homeschooling and how it makes you feel. How do you feel about homeschooling? Does it make you feel a combination of a couple of feelings? Maybe you feel happy about some things. Maybe you feel really sad about others. Maybe you feel frustrated or bored or agitated. Next, you're going to tell us what are some of the things you enjoy, the positive things. Then you're going to tell us some of the things that are drawbacks or challenges or kind of the negative things you don't like. And lastly, what do you miss about school and why do you miss those things? Third years, you have an extra bonus. You're going to add one last part to your writing where you give some advice. What advice would you give to another student getting ready to start homeschooling for the very first time? So our planning sheet has these parts: my feelings, things I enjoy, things I find challenging, things I miss about school, advice to other students for third graders. And if you're a first or second grader, you can add the advice as well. That's okay. And then once you've kind of got your ideas organized, go ahead and write. I'm including a sheet for you to look at that reminds you of the 6+1 traits. So here are ideas, organization, voice, word choice, convention, sentence, fluency, and presentation. And then here is some writing paper for you to use. You can use your own writing paper if you'd like. You only need to include one illustration. If you want to include more, you can. So if you have particular questions about this assignment, you're going to want to reach out to your teachers right away. We definitely want to see a photo of this, and we cannot wait to see how amazing these writing assignments will be. So happy writing and have a great day. Bye.